Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. It's a big day. Should be fun. I don't know. You'll maybe find reasons why it's not, but I can't imagine because we have a lot of great things happening. It's been a very strong week and a very strong weekend. Before we begin, let me say a few words about the historic events that took place over the last few days. On Saturday, my administration helped broker a full and immediate ceasefire, I think a permanent one, between India and Pakistan, ending a dangerous conflict of two nations with lots of nuclear weapons. And they were going at it hot and heavy, and it was seemingly not going to stop. And I'm very proud to let you know that the leadership of India and Pakistan was unwavering, powerful, but unwavering in both cases, and having these, they really were, from the standpoint of having the strength and the wisdom and fortitude to fully know and to understand the gravity of the situation. And we helped a lot. And we helped also with trade. I said, come on, we're going to do a lot of trade with you guys. Let's stop it. Let's stop it. If you stop it, we're doing trade. If you don't stop it, we're not going to do any trade. People have never really used trade the way I used it. That I can tell you. And all of a sudden they said, I think we're going to stop. And they have. And they did it for a lot of reasons, but trade is a big one. We're going to do a lot of trade with Pakistan. We're going to do a lot of trade with India. We're negotiating with India right now. We're going to be soon negotiating with Pakistan. And we stopped the nuclear conflict. I think it could have been a bad nuclear war. Millions of people could have been killed, so I'm very proud of that. I also want to thank Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Rubio for their work and efforts. They worked very hard on that. We also, as you know, created a situation where the Houthis, for the first time ever, have ceased firing, and they've let it be known that they're not going to be firing at American ships anymore, not going to be firing at Americans anymore. This was a heavy barrage that lasted for approximately 50 days. And as you know, they've been in war essentially for forever. But over the last 10 years, they've been very difficult for other countries. Nobody was able to do what we did. But they stopped, and we take their word for it. Their surrogates and them directly said, we don't want to do this anymore. And so we were satisfied with that. In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China after productive talks in Geneva. Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the larger structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs. Because they don't want to pay 25, 50, or 100% tariffs, so they're moving them back to the United States. I spoke to Tim Cook this morning, and he's going to, I think, even up his numbers, $500 billion. He's going to be building a lot of plants in the United States for Apple, and we look forward to that. I really do look forward to that. But the talks in Geneva were very friendly. The relationship is very good. We're not looking to hurt China. China was being hurt very badly. They were closing up factories. They were having a lot of unrest. And they were very happy to be able to do something with us. And the relationship is very, very good. I'll speak to President Xi maybe at the end of the week. We have some other things we're doing. But one of the biggest things that we're doing, and I don't know if people realize this, but we made a great deal with China, a great trade deal, but it was a much bigger deal originally, and then they canceled it right in the last day. Some of you faces I remember were there when that happened. I remember you. And we had a deal where they opened up their country to trade with the United States. And they took that away at the last moment, and then I canceled the whole thing. And then 6 months later, we ended up doing a smaller deal. But it was a big deal. It was $50 billion worth of product that they were going to purchase from our farmers, et cetera. And we agreed to that. People thought it was 15 because they were doing 15. We made it 50 because I misunderstood the 15. I said, you got to get 50. Because when I asked, if you remember the story, when I asked, what are we doing with them? My Secretary of Agriculture at the time, Sonny Perdue, said, sir, it's about 15 billion and we're asking for 15. And I thought he said 50. So I said, so they came back with the deal at 15. And I said, no way, I want 50 because you said 50. They said, sir, we didn't say that. Anyway, bottom line, I said, go back and ask for 50. And they gave us 50. And they were honoring the deal. And we would call them up a lot for the corn and for the wheat and for everything. They were honoring the deal. And then when Biden got in, they no longer honored the deal. There was nobody to call. I would call on an average of once every 2 weeks to say, come on, you have to speed it up a little bit. And our farmers were doing great. I said to them, buy more land and bigger tractors, if you remember. That's what happened. But the deal was a very good deal. But the best part of the deal was that we opened up China. China agreed to open itself up to American business to go in. And it would have been a great thing, I think, for China. They would be able to see things that they haven't seen. They would be able to buy products that they had never been able to buy. Would have been great for American business. I think it would have brought unity between China, better unity between China and the United States. And the bottom line is that they canceled it the last day. We were all set to sign it, and then I went a little bit angry. I got a little angry. I said, they canceled the deal. The deal was done. It was all ready to be signed, and people went over. They came back to me, sir, they don't want to sign the opening up China. Well, the biggest thing that we're discussing is the opening up China, and they've agreed to do that, but it's going to take a while to paper it. You know, that's not the easiest thing to paper. But that's the single, I think, to me, some people would disagree. Some people would say we're getting a lot of money with tariffs or whatever, but, you know, especially when you add what we already have. Because remember, we're already getting the 50% on steel and different things. That's not included in these numbers, so you can add that. But the biggest thing to me is the opening up. It would be, I think it would be fantastic for our businesses if we could go in and compete with China. It would be a lot of jobs for China. It would be, I think, at a time when they can frankly use the jobs. And that's what we're talking about. So that's a very, very important element to add. So when Scott, I watched him speak the other day, and I think he didn't want to say it, but I said, it's okay to say it. Look, if we don't get it, we don't get it. But if we don't get it, it won't be a positive thing. But if we do get it, I think it's maybe the most important thing to happen. Because if you think about it, we opened up our country to China. They have very few restrictions. And they didn't open their country to us. Never made sense to me. It's not fair. And they've agreed to open China, fully open China. And I think it's going to be fantastic for China. I think it's going to be fantastic for us. And I think it's going to be great for unification and peace. China will also suspend and remove all of its non-monetary barriers. They've agreed to do that. Well, they're very numerous. But again, to me, the biggest thing that came out of that meeting is they've agreed. Now, we have to get it papered, but they've agreed to open up China. It's going to be great for everybody. And third, I'm very happy to announce that Idan Alexander, an American citizen who until recently most thought was no longer living, thought was dead, is going to be released in about 2 hours, actually. And he's going to be released before the eyes of Steve Witkoff, who has done a fantastic job. I know a lot of people that have a lot of talent. I know Steve had a lot of talent. But I know a lot of people with a lot of talent, but there's one that I thought had a special way about him, special personality, aside from being a good deal maker, had a special way about him, and it was Steve. Knew very little about the subject matter, who does, but he learned it in about 2 hours. and he's been fantastic. So I want to just thank Steve. But they're going to be releasing Idan in about 2 hours from now, or sometime today, let's say. And again, they thought he was dead just a short while ago. His parents are so happy. They're so happy. So it's, as you know, Idan's the only American citizen who's captured and held hostage by Hamas since October 7th, 2023. And he's coming home to his parents, which is really great news. I mean, to me, it's big news. They thought he was dead. So that's that. So we'll be heading there, and we'll be seeing 3 primary countries. You know all about that: Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. On Thursday's meeting with Russia and Ukraine is very important. I was very insistent that that meeting take place. I think good things can come out of that meeting. Stop the bloodshed of the horrible, it's a bloodbath. But that 5,000 more, it's really much more, I'm trying to be conservative, more than 5,000 soldiers. Russian, they're not American soldiers, they're from Russia, they're from Ukraine, but they're people. They're human souls, and they're being killed at levels that we haven't seen since the Second World War. And it's every week. A lot of drone fighting. It's a whole new form of warfare, and it's violent and vicious. And so that's it. I'd like to go back to China just for a second. They're very heavy on the fentanyl. We're charging them, as you know, 20% for the fact that they send fentanyl into our country. And they've agreed that they're going to stop that. And, you know, they'll be rewarded by not having to pay, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. So the fentanyl should stop. It comes from China. It's amazing. And comes through our southern border, comes through our northern border too, comes through Canada, and comes through our southern border, much more through the southern border. But so that's a very important subject to me, because everybody in this room has lost friends or people that have family members that have died of fentanyl. So there's a big incentive for China to stop, and I take them at their word. They're going to work on that, I think, very hard. And one thing, when they work on something, they get it done. So now I'm about to depart on a historic visit. Some of you are going with us to, as I said, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and United Arab Emirates. Before I do, I'll sign one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history. I don't think there's ever been anything signed like this, certainly not with respect to health care, nothing even close. I'm delighted to be joined on this occasion by Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., who is doing a really good job, I have to tell you that. CMS Administrator, a friend of mine, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who is an amazing guy. You know, I was telling Bobby before, Oz had a very successful show, but it hurt his reputation. Because when you're in show business, it hurts your reputation a little bit. It's good for you, but in terms of professionalism and being a doctor, it sort of hurts your reputation. This guy went to the best schools, was the best, I mean, top of the line. Then he did a television show, became a success, made a lot of money, all that stuff, but it sort of hurt him. And you know who I compare that to? I hate to say this, but a special woman, Jeanine Pirro. She was the toughest, smartest DA, maybe in our countries, in our cities and states, history, New York. She was really tough, really sharp. Then she did a show, and people didn't think of her quite the same way. She became more of an entertainment person, like Oz. Oz is not an entertainer. He's not really an entertainer, if you know the real story. And she isn't either. She is unbelievable. She was one of the strongest district attorneys in the history of New York, highly respected, very tough, went after the drug dealers at a level that you don't see today anymore. And hopefully she's given up a tremendous, she's leaving the #1 show on cable television, one of the #1 shows on television, period, The Five, but they've got great people left behind, but she was a big part of it. And so I equated to that. Jeanine Pirro is unbelievable. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary, with a reputation that's second to none, and the job he's doing already has been fantastic. Thank you, Marty. And Director of National Institute of Health, Jay Bhattacharya, who has been, as you know, from Stanford, so highly regarded, and have all been working with us very hard on this. And the question they would ask, being a little bit new to the government aspect of it, is why doesn't somebody fight the drug price situation, meaning equalization? There's a term, it's called equalization. Nobody wants to mention that term. And I'm not knocking the drug companies. I'm really more knocking the countries than the drug companies, because they're forced to do things. But the drug lobby is the strongest lobby in this country, they say, the drug lobby. It's between that and lawyers. And they have a lot of power. But starting today, the United States will no longer subsidize the health care of foreign countries, which is what we were doing. We're subsidizing others' health care. Countries where they paid a small fraction of what, for the same drug, that what we pay many, many times more for. And we'll no longer tolerate profiteering and price gouging from Big Pharma. But again, it was really the countries that forced Big Pharma to do things that, frankly, I'm not sure they really felt comfortable doing. But they've gotten away with it, these countries. European Union has been brutal. And the drug companies actually told me stories. It was just brutal how they forced them. And European Union suing all our companies, Apple, Google, Meta. They're suing all of our companies. They end up, they have judges that are European Union-centric, and they get rewarded $15 billion, $17 billion, $20 billion, and they use that to run their operation. Not going to happen any longer, that I can tell you. So what's been happening is we've been subsidizing other countries throughout the world, not just in Europe, throughout the world. European Union was the most difficult, from what I understand. I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up, and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on? He said, so I checked, and it's the same box, made in the same plant, by the same company. It's the identical pill that I buy in New York. And here I'm paying $88 in London. In New York, I'm paying $1,300. Now, this is a great businessman, but he's not familiar with this crazy situation that we have. But he was stunned. But it was just one of those stories. And I brought it up with the drug companies, represented by somebody who's very, very smart, good person too. And we argued about it for about half hour, and then finally he just said, because they can't justify it, he just said, look, you got me. You got me. I can no longer they've been justifying this crap for years. They said, oh, it's research and development. Well, I said, well, research and development, other countries should pay research and development too. It's for their benefit. It was just one of those things. And the other countries would set a price, and they'd meet the price, and they'd say, if you don't meet the price, you can't sell it in our country. I said, well, then you walk away, and, they'll call you back, and they'll sell it in the country. But now they'll have to do that. So for the first time in many years, we'll slash the cost of prescription drugs, and we will bring fairness to America. Drug prices will come down by much more, really, if you think, 59. If you think of a drug that is sometimes 10 times more expensive, it's much more than the 59%, it depends on the way you want to analyze it, but in one way you could analyze it that way. But between 59 and 80, and I guess even 90%. So when I worked so hard in the first term, and if I got prices down, remember I was the only one to ever get prices down for a full year, but I'd get them down like 2%, and I thought it was like a big deal. Well, we're getting them down 60, 70, 80, 90%, but actually more than that if you think about it in the way mathematically. And farmer has to say, we're sorry, but we'll not be able to do this any longer to these countries that have been so tough. They've been very tough, nasty. It's trade. It's trade. And pharma is also very powerful. And the Democrats have protected pharma. The Democrats, this is the Democrats have protected pharma. These are the Democrats. And by the way, I just called the Speaker of the House, and I just called the leader, our leader in the Senate, John Thune, Mike Johnson. Spoke to both of them. I said, when you score, you're going to have to score two things. You're going to have to, number one, score that hundreds of billions of dollars of tariff money is coming in. But even bigger than that, you're going to have to score that your cost for Medicaid and Medicare and just basically pharmaceuticals and drugs is going down at a level that nobody has ever seen before. It'll pay for the Golden Dome. I see the Golden Dome is there, see? That'll easily pay for the Golden Dome. And we'll have a lot of money left over. We need the Golden Dome, by the way, in this world. Although this world's a lot safer today than it was a week ago, and a lot safer than it was 6 months ago. We had people that had no clue what they were doing. So today Americans spend 70% more for prescription drugs than we spent in the year 2000. Think of that. Our country has the highest drug prices anywhere in the world by sometimes a factor of 5, 6, 7, 8 times. It's not like they're slightly higher. They're 6, 7, 8 times. There are even cases of 10 times higher. So that you go 10 times more expensive for the same drug, that's big numbers. Even though the United States is home to only 4% of the world's population, pharmaceutical companies make more than 2/3 of their profits in America. So think of that. With 4% of the population, the pharmaceutical companies make most of their money, most of their profits from America. That's not a good thing. Now, I think, by the way, I have great respect for these companies and for the people that run them. I really do. And I think they did one of the greatest jobs in history for their company, convincing people for many years that this was a fair system. And nobody really understood why, but I figured it out. For years, pharmaceutical and drug companies have said that research and development costs were what they are, and for no reason whatsoever. They had to be borne by America alone. Not anymore, they don't. This means American patients were effectively subsidizing socialist healthcare systems in Germany, in all parts of the European Union. They were the toughest of all. They were nasty. And I see that. I see that with trade, too. European Union is in many ways nastier than China, okay? And we've just started with them. Oh, they'll come down a lot. You watch. We have all the cards. They treated us very unfairly. They sell us 13 million cars. We sell them none. They sell us their agricultural products. We sell them virtually none. They don't take our products. That gives us all the cards, and very unfair. So they're going to have to pay more for health care, and we're going to have to pay less. That's all it is. And believe it or not, because it's really the world we're talking about, not just the European Union, but because it's the world, the numbers are for the healthcare company not as bad as you would think. They'll make the same. I think the healthcare companies should make pretty much the same money. I really don't believe they should be affected very much, because it's just a redistribution of wealth. It's a redistribution where it could be the same top line, but it's going to be distributed differently. Europe's going to have to pay a little bit more. The rest of the world's going to have to pay a little bit more, and America's going to pay a lot less. Again, because it's a much smaller population than when you think of the whole world. So basically what we're doing is equalizing. There's a new word that I came up with, which I think is probably the best word. We're going to equalize, where we're all going to pay the same. we're going to pay what Europe's going to pay. We're going to all pay. Now, there may be some countries in dire need, and I would be willing to sacrifice that and help them. But it's called most favored nation. We are going to pay the lowest price there is in the world. We will get, whoever is paying the lowest price, that's the price that we're going to get. So remember that. So we're no longer paying 10 times more than another country. Whoever is paying the lowest price, we will look at that price and we will say that's the price we're going to pay. Most favored nations, that's what it is. One breast cancer drug costs Americans over $16,000 per bottle, but the same drug from the same factory, manufactured by the same company, is 1/6 that price in Australia and 1/10 that price in Sweden. 1/10 for the identical product. A common asthma drug costs almost $500 here in America, but costs less than $40 in the United Kingdom. So $40 in the United Kingdom, which is where this gentleman told me he paid a small amount for his shot. But think of that. So $40 versus $500 here. That's not even bad. There are much worse examples. And the weight loss drug, Ozempic, costs 10 times more in the United States than in the rest of the developed world. 10 times more. Why? Why? What did we do? Suckers. But we never had a president that had the courage to do this. And nobody knew the system like I do. I mean, I've gotten to know this system so well. And I don't think it's fair that it benefits Obamacare. Obamacare is a failure. It's not a good health care. It works. I made it work. I had an obligation to make it work, or an obligation to let it die. I chose that we had to make it work. I had to make it as good as possible. And I had a choice. I could have let it fail or make it as good as possible. As good as possible means it was still not very good, but it survived. And we did the right thing. But this makes everything work. And I don't want to have a bad form of health care work because of the fact I was able to cut drug prices by 80 or 90%. So we're going to maybe come up with something. I think this gives the Republicans a chance to actually do a health care that's much better than Obamacare and for less money, which if you guys would work on that along with Congress. But I do want to say that Democrats could have done this a long time ago. They have fought like hell for the drug companies, and they knew they were doing the wrong thing. And it's going to be very hard. I was just telling the leader and the speaker that it's going to be very hard for the Democrats to vote against the one big, beautiful deal. The greatest tax cuts in history, greatest everything, but now you have the big drug prices because that's going to be included. It makes that whole situation different from a scoring standpoint. I just told them, I called them up about this. I said, I'm going to do something that's going to be very monumental, and you're going to be scoring. You better tell your people that this is going to score really well. And then add hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs to your list also. But as big as the tariffs are, this is something that really hits quickly. 5 years ago, I signed an executive order to confront this disaster, but only confront it in a minor way. It was a good confrontation, but never to this extent. And it took people a little while to understand a very complicated system. But Joe Biden, without any knowledge of what he was doing, terminated the policy and then pretended to negotiate under a new system. And then you take a look, 5 out of the 10 drugs that he negotiated are now over 200% more expensive in America than the rest of the world, and far more expensive than when he even got involved. Much more expensive than when he got involved. Joe Biden's plan was as you know, because you wrote about it, you don't say it very loudly, but it was a very big failure, was his whole presidency. First, I'm directing the U.S. trade representatives and Department of Commerce to begin investigations into foreign nations that extort drug companies by blocking their products unless they accept bottom line and very low dollar amounts for their product, unfairly shifting the cost burden onto American patients. And we'll be taking a look at that very strongly. The biggest thing we're going to do is we're going to tell those countries, like those represented by the European Union, that, that game is up, sorry. And if they want to get cute, then they don't have to sell cars into the United States anymore. It's a very big subject. And they won't get cute, because I'll defend the drug companies from that standpoint. They were given a price by the European Unions and other countries. This is what you do. This is what we're going to pay. We're not going to pay any more. Let America pay the difference, because there was a big shortfall. Let America pay it. And that's what we did, but we're not doing it anymore. Next, my administration will secure what we're calling most favored nations drug pricing. The principle is simple. Whatever the lowest price paid for a drug in other developed countries, that is the price that Americans will pay. And we're using the term other developed countries because there are some countries that need some additional help, and that's fine. I think that's very good. Some prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 50 to 80 to 90%. Big Pharma will either abide by this principle voluntarily or will use the power of the federal government to ensure that we are paying the same price as other countries. To accelerate these price restrictions and reductions, my administration will also cut out the middlemen. We're going to totally cut out the famous middlemen. Nobody knows who they are, middlemen. I've been hearing the term for 25 years, middlemen. I don't know who they are, but they're rich. That I can tell you. We're going to cut out the middlemen and facilitate the direct sale of drugs at the most favored nation price directly to the American citizen. So we're cutting out, Bobby, the middlemen. It's so important, right? You got to do that. They're worse than the drug companies. They don't even make a product, and they make a fortune. It's very smart business people, that I can tell you. If companies make no significant progress toward most favored nation pricing, which we will insist that they do, so I think I'm wasting time talking about it. We're going to insist upon it. And we'll insist, and we're going to help the drug companies with the other nations, because those other nations do a lot of trading with us. They need our trade, just like China needed us very badly. They need us just as badly. We will do whatever we have to with trade, just like we did some great things with trade with India and Pakistan. It really helped the situation, very heated situation. Could have lost millions of people, more than millions, I mean, many millions of people. And they want to do business with America, but we never used our powers that way. We never knew how. We never had people that knew how to do that. We'll also open up America's market to safe and legal imports of affordable drugs from other countries, putting dramatic downward pressure on prices. And if necessary, we'll investigate the drug companies, and we'll, in particular, investigate the countries that are doing this, and we will add it onto the price that we charge them for doing business in America. In other words, we'll add it onto tariffs if they don't do what is right, which is everybody should equalize, everybody should pay the same price. And special interests may not like this very much, but the American people will. I am doing this for the American people. I'm doing this against the most powerful lobby in the world, probably the drug lobby, drug and pharmaceutical lobby. But it's one of the most important orders, I think, that's ever been signed, certainly with regard to health care or health in the history of our country, and it's an honor to be a part of it.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Your Highness. What a lot of people don't know, I think my staff is very surprised by it. You and I have been friends for a long time. We've been good friends. And what they don't know about you is that you are considered a truly great warrior. And you've been through the wars. You're a great warrior, a very strong man, a brilliant man, a man of vision like few others, and highly respected. When they know you, there's tremendous respect, and you're so respected in the Middle East that it's really amazing. You know, we've done the tour with two of your very good friends, you know that, and we were talking about you, and I won't tell you everything they said, but I can say it was all good. It was all good. Total admiration and respect for what you've done and who you are. And they said, when he gives you a handshake, when he makes a deal, that's the deal. And your wonderful brother came to Washington a few weeks ago, and he told us about your generous statement as to the 1.4 trillion. And all I could say is thank you very much. We will work very hard to deserve it. I have absolutely no doubt that the relationship will only get bigger and better. Your relationship and mine can't get better, so I can't say it's going to get better because it's at the highest level it can be. But our countries will work together. We've become a very hot country. We were not such a hot country 6 months ago. And now I think we're the hottest country, if you want to know the truth. We had one little indication. A year ago, we were having a hard time getting people to join the military, enlistment they call it in our country. We were getting very bad vibes, very unhappy. It was an unhappy country. A lot of foolish things were happening, stupid things were happening. And we just got the numbers. We had the highest enlistment numbers just about that we've ever had. We think it probably the highest, but they say have to be extremely accurate when it comes to the news because they check every word I say. If there's a little bit of an inaccuracy, but I will tell you we had just about the best numbers for enlistment we've ever had. Every one of our services. I'm very proud of Space Force because I created Space Force. That was my baby. Hadn't been done in 78 years, a new force, and it's doing phenomenally well. We were not winning the space war, and now we're leading it by tremendous margins over Russia and China primarily. And so we're very proud of it, but I'm very proud of maybe even more so the enlistment numbers. So we went from having a hard time getting people to join our armed forces and our police, by the way, to having the best numbers that we've ever had, wanting to join. They're proud of our country again. That's a big thing, and to happen so fast, over about a 6 or 7 month period, that's a big honor. And likewise, the police, very hard to get police, and now the ranks are bursting and with pride. So that's something that we're very happy about. We've had investments in our country over the last 3 months, but really 2 months because it took me a couple of weeks to get started. I had to get a little acclimated again. Because we had a very successful first term, as you know. We had one of the most successful economies in the history of our country. First term was amazing. We did a lot of things. We rebuilt our military. We did a lot of great things. And I think this is even going to be better. But we have now, I think, substantially over $10 trillion of investment. And now when I add the 1.4 trillion, we easily break that number. So that's investment or investment that we think will soon happen. And it doesn't include people that are building because not everybody comes and tells us that they're building, and it's a big country, but we're having numbers that we've never done before, and that means AI plants. That means, as an example, a really good example is Apple. Apple is now spending much more than $500 billion on plants. They didn't do that before. As you know, they built their plants in another location. We have the biggest computer company, $500 billion. We have Mr. Wei of Taiwan is spending $200 billion. Jensen who's great. Jensen Huang is spending $500 billion. We have numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That all means jobs, because to me the most important jobs, I want jobs. And we have costs are way down. Groceries, they have a term grocery. It's an old term, but it means basically what you're buying in food. It's a pretty accurate term, but it's an old-fashioned sound. But groceries are down, costs are down, eggs are down. They were, first week they were hitting me with eggs were up 200%. And now they're down to a number that is amazing. We're down 97, 98% from where they were. And everybody, they said, you won't have eggs for Easter. Well, we had everybody had eggs for Easter at a very reasonable price. At the White House, we had our little Easter egg roll, and we had hundreds of thousands of eggs purchased. They said, you have to go out and buy plastic eggs. That didn't work out. So we've done a real job, and our energy costs are way down. The energy is way down, gasoline is down, and we have almost no inflation. So we've got the economy back. We've got a border now that's very powerful, 99.9%, and nobody would have believed that was possible. It was a real mess. We had, frankly, an incompetent previous administration. I know you weren't thrilled with them. They abandoned people, and it wasn't that they abandoned. They didn't bother to call people back. They treated people with great disrespect, but part of it was a level of stupidity that we've never seen before. And I'm glad we arrived, and I know people also woo you. You know, you're an amazing country. You're a rich country. You can have your choice, but I know you'll never leave my side. I know that. And you know the special relationship that we have and our country has. So our country's back with you, and our country's back in a lot of ways. We have a country with tremendous spirit right now, tremendous. They haven't seen anything like it. I would say this, we're far ahead of schedule. If you would have told me these numbers in a year and a half from now, I would have been very happy with them. But think that substantially more than $10 trillion, you'll have numbers of other presidents where they won't do $1 trillion in a long time, $1 trillion. We did it in 2 months because, again, you figure 3, but let me have 1 month of fixing up the Oval Office, in other words, getting things ready. And I look forward to having you in the White House. We'll celebrate together, but we are going to be your friend and we're going to be your partner, and we really appreciate your confidence and an investment. That's your biggest investment that you've ever made, and we really appreciate it, and we're going to treat you very, as you should be, magnificently. And you're a magnificent man, and it's an honor to be with you.
My honor, Mr. President.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless you.
Thank you.
شكرا شباب. دخل وسام.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. What a great place. What a great place, but more importantly, what great people. I want to thank His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, for that incredible introduction. He's an incredible man. Known him a long time now. There's nobody like him. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much, my friend. And it's a tremendous honor to return to this beautiful kingdom and be welcomed back with such extraordinary generosity and warmth. I've never forgotten the exceptional hospitality showed to us by King Solomon, who's just, we talk about a great man. That is a great man. That is a great man, a great family. And that visit took place exactly 8 years ago. The graciousness of the royal family and the Saudi people is really unsurpassed, no matter where you go. Let me also thank the countless ministers, government officials, business leaders, and distinguished guests for that warm welcome. Very warm, and I know so many of you. I'd like to call out all of your names, but we have a lot of problems. We'd be here for a long time. We don't want that, so don't be upset. With this historic state visit, we celebrate more than 80 years of close partnership between the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Ever since President Franklin Roosevelt met with King Solomon's father, King Abdul Aziz, aboard the USS Quincy in 1945, the U.S.-Saudi relationship has been a bedrock of security and prosperity. Today, we reaffirm this important bond, and we take the next steps to make our relationship closer, stronger, and more powerful than ever before. It is more powerful than ever before. And by the way, it will remain that way. We don't go in and out like other people. It will remain that way. I've come this afternoon to talk about the bright future of the Middle East, but first let me begin by sharing the abundance of good news from a place called America. In less than 4 months, our new administration has achieved more than
most other administrations accomplish in 4 years or even 8 years. We've actually done, for the most part, more. The day I took office, we inherited, thank you. Thank you. The day I took office, we inherited a colossal invasion on our southern border, an invasion like you'd never want to see here. Nobody should ever want to see it. But within weeks, we slashed illegal border crossings to an all-time low, down 99.999%. That's good, even for this great gentleman standing right in front of me. That's a good number. We had hundreds of thousands of people. They came in at the same time last year, and last month we had, in this massive border, 3 people that got in. That's quite a difference, and we have no choice but to get a lot of the people that came in because they were not the best people. They were, in many cases, very bad people. We're getting them out. We're getting them out very fast. We're bringing them back to where they came from. We have no choice. After years of military recruiting shortfalls, enlistments in the U.S. Armed Forces are now the highest in 30 years because there is such an incredible spirit in the United States of America. We have tremendous spirit again. Just about a year ago, it was a big story, front page on every paper all over the world, that nobody wanted to enlist in our military, meaning we were way under enlisted. And just last week it came out that we had the strongest enlistment. They say 30 years, but probably it's maybe ever. They don't go back that far. It's the best, and that includes police officers, firemen, everything else. There's a great spirit in the United States right now. A brand new poll from Rasmussen just showed that the number of Americans who believe the nation is on the right track, they have a right track, wrong track, is now the highest in over 20 years. And it hasn't been anything like this because for many years it was the wrong track. And I can tell you for the last 4 years it was definitely the wrong track, but it's the highest it's been in many, many years. We renamed the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. That was very popular, other than perhaps with Mexico. And most importantly, for the people in this room, the days of economic misery under the last administration are rapidly giving way to the greatest economy in the history of the world. We are rocking. The United States is the hottest country, with the exception of your country, I have to say, right? I'm not going to take that on. No, Mohammed, I'm not going to take that on. Wouldn't that be a terrible thing if I made that full statement? But I will not do it. You're hotter. At least as long as I'm up here, you're hotter. But groceries, gasoline, energy, and all other prices are down with no inflation. We have no inflation, and in a few short weeks, we've created 464,000 brand new jobs. Think of that. It's almost 500,000 jobs created just in a matter of weeks. We just reached a historic trade agreement with the United Kingdom, and over the weekend we reached a breakthrough agreement with China. Both outstanding deals. China's agreed. We have to get it down. We have to get the little details down. And Scott, you're going to work on that very hard, but China's agreed to open up to the United States for trade and everything else. But they have to do it, so we'll see what happens. But we had a very, very good meeting with both of those countries. We are cutting 10 old regulations for every new regulation. We're getting rid of all of the red tape that is so many, frankly, countries, as they get older, they develop a lot of red tape, and we're getting rid of it. We're getting rid of it at record levels. And I'm pleased to report that the United States Congress is on the verge of passing the largest tax cut and regulation cut in American history. We think we're in good shape to get that. And if we get that, that will be like a rocket ship for our country. In the first quarter of the year, the investment in America was up an astounding 22%. More than $10 trillion of new investments have been announced or are coming just since the election on November 5th. So think of that. In a very short period of time, we have over $10 trillion And it could be much higher than that. Not everybody comes to the White House to have a news conference that they're going to be opening up in America, but they're all coming in at numbers that we've never seen before. If you take a look at other presidencies, they wouldn't do $1 trillion sometime in years. We did this in essentially 2 months because you have to say we got into office and they gave me about a month to clean up and fix up the Oval Office. And after that, we started working. And the money is pouring in, the jobs are pouring in, the companies are pouring into our country like we've never seen before. There's never been anything like it. And we let other people tariff us into losing a lot of money and a lot of jobs, and now we're tariffing them. And it's at a level that nobody's seen. It's a level that is making us a very much different country and a very different Republican Party. We won a tremendous victory in November. We won all 7 swing states, the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. The Electoral College, we won by 312 to 226. Remember, they said, well, we could get to 270. No, we got to 312. That's a big difference. And very importantly, we won counties throughout the United States, 2,660 to 451. That's why when you look at a map, they're all red. The whole country is red. Red stands for Republican. From the moment on and from the moment we started, we've seen wealth that just poured and is pouring back into America. Apple is investing $500 billion. NVIDIA is investing, and I see my friend is here. Jensen, that's very good, wherever you may be. Thank you very much, because he's putting in $500 billion. TSMC is investing. Where is Jensen, by the way? Where is he? He's here. Where is he? I just saw that. Thank you very much, Jensen. I mean, Tim Cook isn't here, but you are. What a job you've done. He said he's got 99% of the chip market. I don't know. That's a big, that's not easy to beat. But what a job you've done. Thank you. We are proud to have you in our country. You know that. Thank you for the investment. TSMC is investing $200 billion, and with this trip, we're adding over $1 trillion more in terms of investment into our country and buying our products. And, you know, nobody makes military equipment like us. We have the best military equipment, the best missiles, the best rockets, the best everything. Best submarines, by the way. Most lethal weapon in the world. In addition to purchases of $142 billion of American-made military equipment by our great Saudi partners, the largest ever. This week there are multi-billion-dollar commercial deals with Amazon, Oracle, AMD. They're all here. Uber, Qualcomm, Johnson & Johnson, and many, many more. So I want to congratulate everybody. So many great business executives, many of you, most of you I know. And they're coming in, you know, about a month ago. They weren't that happy when they saw me. And now they're saying, sir, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. It's amazing what a rising market will do. Oh, it's going to get a lot higher. In fact, I told people 5 weeks ago, this is a great time to buy. I got criticized for that. Now they don't criticize me anymore. People should have listened. But it's going to go a lot higher. You see, we've never had anything like this happen. It's an explosion of investment and jobs, and great companies are coming in. Never seen anything like it. There's no better place to make a future or make a fortune, or do anything, frankly, than what we have in the United States of America under a certain president, Donald J. Trump. I have the right attitude. I have the same attitude that the people in the front row, second row, third row have. As you get back, perhaps they start to wane a little bit in terms of their view. But they understand, and we're doing what a lot of smart people would do. And we're not necessarily being politically correct. You saw what we did yesterday with health care. We've cut our health care by 50 to 90%. You're going to see drugs and pharmaceuticals come down at numbers that nobody has ever seen. And drugs, pharmaceuticals, we think will be dropping, and it will be a redistribution of costs with other nations, which really took advantage of a very nice group of people that ran our country. But not only is this a time of incredible excitement in the United States, it's also an exhilarating period right here in the Arabian Peninsula. Beautiful place, by the way, beautiful place. Exactly, thank you. Exactly 8 years ago this month, I stood in this very room and looked forward to a future in which the nations of this region would drive the forces of terrorism and extremism, drive them right out of existence, and take your place among the proudest, most prosperous, most successful nations anywhere in the world as leaders of a modern and rising Middle East. So exciting, so exciting. Mohammed, you sleep at night? How do you sleep? Huh? Just thinking. What a job. He tosses and turns like some of us, tosses and turns all night. How do I make it even better all night? It's the ones that don't toss and turn. They're the ones that will never take you to the promised land, won't they? But you have done some job. True. But critics doubted that it was possible what you've done. But over the past 8 years, Saudi Arabia has proved the critics totally wrong. The transformation that has occurred even by these incredible business leaders. I mean, you had the biggest leaders in business anywhere in the world standing right before us. But the transformation that has occurred under the leadership of King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed has been truly extraordinary. Such a thing has, I don't think, ever happened before. I've never seen anything at that scale happen before. And I guess, you know, maybe you could say the United States is doing pretty well, too, you know, but I don't think too many people have seen that happen before. Majestic skyscrapers, the towers that I see, the difference between now and 8 years ago. And 8 years ago was very impressive, but the towers that I see rising, some of the exhibits that I was shown by Mohammed, what I've seen there is just an amazing, it's an amazing process, amazing genius of so many people, architecture, but I have a feeling I know where many of those ideas came from. Happens to be sitting right in this room right before me, but the towers and all of the different, I've seen a lot of different towers. I didn't think there's any version of a tower that I haven't seen in one form or another. I just passed 4 exhibits. I have never seen anything like any of them. So it's going to be very exciting. And they sit among the ancient wonders of a growing and exciting city. It's really amazing. Riyadh is becoming not just a seat of government, but a major business, cultural, and high-tech capital of the entire world. The World Cup is here. Johnny, just stand up, Johnny. Johnny, thank you, Johnny. Great job, Johnny, great job. But the World Cup and the World Expo will soon be coming here, just like the World Cup is coming to the United States. It's going to be really exciting next year. The engines of Formula One racing now roar through the streets of Jeddah in a historic milestone. Other industries recently surpassed oil. Think of it, all of your other industries now have surpassed oil. I don't know if a lot of people will understand what that means. It's so big to make up a majority of the Saudi economy for the very first time ever. So think of that. Other industries are now bigger even than oil, which is always going to be a big monster. It's a big one. But that's a great tribute to you and economic development properly used. In other cities throughout the peninsula, places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, Doha, Muscat, the transformations have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by
commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly. And it's something only you could do. You achieved a modern miracle, the Arabian way. That's a good way. Today, the Gulf nations have shown this entire region a path towards safe and orderly societies with improving quality of life, flourishing economic growth, expanding personal freedoms, and increasing responsibilities on the world stage. After so many decades of conflict, finally it is within our grasp to reach the future that generations before us could only dream about, a land of peace, safety, harmony, opportunity, innovation, and achievement right here in the Middle East. So beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing that's happening. I guess, you know, the people that are here can't even really appreciate it because you see it happening, and it's when you come to a place that you haven't seen in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years that it's even more incredible. When I left office just over 4 years ago, that future seemed almost impossible, what you've done. Together we had obliterated the killers of ISIS. We wiped them out, terminated its founder and leader, al-Baghdadi. We had healed the divide in the Gulf Cooperation Council. It's a very big deal. And united the nations of the region to stand against the enemies of all civilization. We'd imposed unprecedented sanctions on Iran and starved the regime of resources to fund terror. They were unable to fund anything because they had no money left. They had no money. But the new administration came in and let them have a lot of money, and you saw what happened. It was not money well spent. And with the historic Abraham Accords that we're so proud of, all the momentum was aimed at peace, and it aimed very successfully. It's been an amazing thing, the Abraham Accords, and it's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, a place I have such respect for, especially over the last fairly short period of time, what you've been able to do, but we'll soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country, and it will be something that's really going to be very important for the future of the Middle East. I took a risk in doing them, and they've been an absolute bonanza for the countries that have joined. The Biden administration did nothing for 4 years. We would have had it filled out. But it will be a special day in the Middle East with the whole world watching when Saudi Arabia joins us, and you'll be greatly honoring me, and you'll be greatly honoring all of those people that have fought so hard for the Middle East, and I really think it's going to be something special. But
You'll do it in your own time, and that's what I want, and that's what you want, and that's the way it's going to be. When I left office, the only thing still standing between this region and its unbelievable potential was a small group of rogue actors and violent thugs seeking constantly to drag the Middle East backward and into havoc, mayhem, and indeed into war. Unfortunately, instead of confronting these destructive forces, the last U.S. administration chose to enrich them and empower them and give them billions and billions of dollars. The Biden administration, the worst administration in the history of our country, by the way, spurned our most trusted and longstanding Gulf partners, and I can say partners worldwide, one of our great, great partners, no matter who we look to. And we have great partners in the world, but we have none stronger and nobody like the gentleman that's right before me. He's your greatest representative, greatest representative. And if I didn't like him, I'd get out of here so fast. You know that, don't you? He knows me well. I do. I like him a lot. I like him too much. That's why we give so much, you know? Too much. I like you too much. Great guy. They lifted sanctions on Iran in exchange for getting nothing, and sent the regime tens of billions of dollars to fund terror and death all over the world. And they laughed at him. They laughed at our leader. And they're still laughing at our leader. They thought him a fool. And they made nothing but trouble ever since, including the funding of October 7th, one of the worst days ever in the history of the Middle East. Horrible day. Biden removed the Houthis from the list of foreign terrorist organizations, even while missiles and drones were being launched right here at your beautiful city of Riyadh, and launched at ships if they happened to be sailing in the wrong location. The Biden administration's extreme weakness and gross incompetence derailed progress toward peace, destabilized the region, and put at risk everything we had worked so hard to build together. And when you think of the great achievements that you've made, to do it in light of a pretty hostile administration, an administration that was not a believer, it makes your achievements even greater. Makes them even greater, you know that. But in a few short months since taking office, we have achieved the swift return of American strength at home and abroad, now working with the vast majority of people in this region who seek stability and calm. Our task is to unify against the few agents of chaos and terror that are left and that are holding hostage the dreams of millions and millions of great people. The biggest and most destructive of these forces is the regime in Iran, which has caused unthinkable suffering in Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, Yemen, and beyond. There could be no sharper contrast with the path you have pursued on the Arabian Peninsula than the disaster unfolding right across in the Gulf of Iran. Think of that. They wanted to name it that. I said, they're not going to let them do that. Do you mind if I stop that? I stopped it. We're not going to let that happen. While you have been constructing the world's tallest skyscrapers in Jeddah and Dubai, Tehran's 1979 landmarks are collapsing into rubble and dust. They had it going for a little while under a much different system, but those buildings are largely falling apart, falling down, while you're building some of the world's biggest and most incredible infrastructure projects, buildings, all sorts of things you're building that nobody's ever even seen before. Iran's decades of neglect and mismanagement have left the country plagued by rolling blackouts lasting for hours a day. All the time you hear about it. While your skill has turned dry deserts into fertile farmland, Iran's leaders have managed to turn green farmland into dry deserts as their corrupt water mafia, it's called it the water mafia, causes droughts and empty riverbeds. They get rich, but they don't let the people have any of it. And then, of course, there's the key difference at the root of it all.
While the Arab states have focused on becoming pillars of regional stability and world commerce, Iran's leaders have focused on stealing their people's wealth to fund terror and bloodshed abroad. Most tragic of all, they have dragged down an entire region with them. Countless lives were lost in the Iranian effort to maintain a crumbling regime in Syria. Look at what happened with Syria. In Lebanon, their Hezbollah proxies have pillaged the hopes of a nation whose capital, Beirut, was once called the Paris of the Middle East. Can you imagine? All of this misery and so much more was entirely avoidable, absolutely avoidable. And Mohammed knew that. He knew that. Smart people knew that. If only the Iranian regime had focused on building their nation up instead of tearing the region down. Yet I'm here today not merely to condemn the past chaos of Iran's leaders, but to offer them a new path and a much better path toward a far better and more hopeful future. As I've shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world, even if our differences may be very profound, which obviously they are in the case of Iran. I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies, but sometimes you need enemies to do the job, and you have to do it right. Enemies get you motivated. In fact, some of the closest friends of the United States of America are nations we fought wars against in generations past, and now they're our friends and our allies. I want to make a deal with Iran. If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero like I did before. If you know that, they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, and take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. But with that said, Iran can have a much brighter future, but will never allow America and its allies to be threatened with terrorism or nuclear attack. The choice is theirs to make. We really want them to be a successful country. We want them to be a wonderful, safe, great country, but they cannot have a nuclear weapon. This is an offer that will not last forever. The time is right now for them to choose. Right now, we don't have a lot of time to wait. Things are happening at a very fast pace. They're happening right here. They're happening at a very fast pace. So they have to make their move right now, one way or the other. Make your move. As I said in my inaugural address, my greatest hope is to be a peacemaker and to be a unifier. I don't like war. We have the greatest military, by the way, in the history of the world. You know, I rebuilt our military in my first 4 years and rebuilt it into the most powerful military there is. And you saw that when I knocked out ISIS in 3 weeks. People said it would take 4 years, 5 years. I did it. We did it in 3 weeks. Just days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan. And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully. And they both have very powerful leaders, very strong leaders, good leaders, smart leaders. And it all stopped. Hopefully it'll remain that way, but it all stopped. I was very proud of Marco Rubio and all of the people that worked so hard. Marco, stand up. What a great job you did on that. Thank you, J.D. Vance, Marco. The whole group worked with you, but it was a great job. And I think they're actually getting along. Maybe we can even get them together a little bit, Marco, where they go out and have a nice dinner together. Wouldn't that be nice? But we've come a long way, and it could be, millions of people could have died from that conflict that started off small and was getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day. I've also been working relentlessly to end the terrible bloodshed between Russia and Ukraine, and very importantly, talks are being held in Turkey later this week, probably on Thursday, and they could produce some pretty good results. Our people are going to be going there. Marco's going to be going there. Others are going to be going, and we'll see if we can get it done. 5,000 people, young people for the most part, soldiers from Ukraine, soldiers from Russia. They're not from here and they're not from the United States, but they're souls. They're souls. I think usually, mostly, they're young, beautiful souls that left their parents waving goodbye, left their brothers and sisters. Goodbye, I'll see you soon. And they got blown to pieces. 5,000 on average a week are dying. And people are dying elsewhere in the region, but tremendous numbers like we haven't seen since World War II are dying, and I want to stop it. I want to stop it. It's a horrible war. Would have never happened if I were president. That's a war that would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened if I were president, because Iran had no money to pay Hamas or anybody else. They had no money. They were not looking to take care of them. They had to take care of themselves. They had no money. We stopped their oil effectively with the embargoes and sanctions. But let me take this opportunity to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the constructive role that you've played in facilitating the Ukraine talks. And it really is, you've been amazing. You've made everything available to us. Thank you very much. Thank you. And if we get that settled, we'll pay a special tribute to what you've done. You really did lay a great groundwork. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. The West should not be dragging itself backward into another endless war in Europe, yet another endless war. We should stop the killing and work together to address the biggest long-term threats as one unbeatable team. Think of us as an unbeatable team. I mean, when you look at what you've done here, that's much more difficult than stopping stupidity. Think of it. It's stupidity. What you've done is much more difficult, and you did it better than anybody else has ever done it. As President of the United States, my preference will always be for peace and partnership whenever those outcomes can be achieved. Always. It's always going to be that way. Only a fool would think otherwise. In recent years, far too many American presidents have been afflicted with the notion that it's our job to look into the souls of foreign leaders and use U.S. policy to dispense justice for their sins. They loved using our very powerful military, and now it's really the most powerful it's ever been. We just are getting a budget approved, $1 trillion, highest budget we've ever had in history for military, $1 trillion. And we're getting the greatest missiles, the greatest weapons. And, I hate to do it, but you have to do it because we believe in peace through strength. You have to have the strength, otherwise bad things could happen. But hopefully we'll never have to use any of those weapons. Seems to be an awfully big waste of money if you're never going to use them, but hopefully we'll never have to use them, because the destructive power of some of those weapons are like nobody's seen before. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America, and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. That's what I really want to do. I will never hesitate to wield American power if it's necessary to defend the United States or to help defend our allies. And there will be no mercy for any foe who tries to do us or them harm. We will have no mercy. They understand that. That's why I've been pretty lucky. A lot of people think, he's looking to fight. He's looking to fight, and things get settled. It's an amazing thing when they really think you mean it. But we do. We have the greatest military, the strongest military, stronger than any. Nobody's even close. We have the best weapons in the world.
but we don't want to use them. If you threaten America or our partners, however, then you'll be faced with overwhelming strength and devastating force. We have things that you don't even know about, you don't hear about, and if you did, you'd say, wow. In recent weeks, following repeated attacks on American ships and freedom of navigation in the Red Sea, the United States military launched more than 1,100 strikes on the Houthis in Yemen. As a result, the Houthis agreed to stop. They said, we don't want this anymore. It's the first time you've heard that from them, too. They're tough, they're fighters. But just days ago, we were asked to cease targeting commercial. They were not going to be targeting commercial ships in any way, shape, or form, or anything American. And they were very happy that we stopped. But we had 52 days of thunder and lightning like they've never seen before. This was a swift, ferocious, decisive, and extremely successful use of military force. Not that we wanted to do it, but they were shooting down ships. They were shooting at you. They were shooting at Saudi Arabia. We don't want them shooting at Saudi Arabia, if that's okay. So we hit them hard. We got what we came for, and then we got out. Since January 20th, the U.S. military has terminated 83 terrorist leaders operating across Iraq, Syria, and Somalia, including ISIS's #2 global leader. You read about that just recently. With the help of Pakistan, we apprehended the ISIS terrorists responsible for the attack on 13 American service members at Abbey Gate, that horrible, horrible disaster. During this Afghanistan withdrawal, you know, that's another thing that we don't even think about so much anymore. 13 died, but 42 were horribly wounded. But hundreds of people died overall, because I count the people on the other side. Hundreds of people just grossly incompetent. It's probably why Putin decided to go into Ukraine, something he never would have done if I were president. But we wouldn't have had the problems of October 7th if I were president. We wouldn't have had Ukraine, Russia if I were president. We wouldn't have had Abbey Gate, because there wouldn't have been any reason we were getting out, but we were getting out with dignity and with strength and power. But the way they got out was not good. I think it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And we've been working tirelessly to bring back all hostages held by Hamas. We brought back a lot already, but we're bringing back more. This weekend, we successfully negotiated the release of the last American hostage, Edan Alexander. Just came out a few hours ago, and we continue to work to get that war ended as quickly as possible. It's a horrible thing that's taking place. All civilized people must condemn the October 7th atrocities against Israel, which would never have happened again if you had probably a different president, but definitely if you had me as president. The people of Gaza deserve a much better future, but that will or can not occur as long as their leaders choose to kidnap, torture, and target innocent men, women, and children for political ends. The way those people are treated in Gaza, there's not a place in the world where people are treated so badly. It's horrible. After years of suffering, two of the nations most ravaged by terror are finally beginning to end their long nightmares under the new generation of leaders. In Lebanon, where a friend of mine has just become the ambassador. He's going to be great. I said, you know, that could be a very dangerous job. He said, I was born there. I'm Lebanese. I love that country. I said, but it's very dangerous. You know, this is a friend of mine from New York. I said, but it's very dangerous. Are you sure you want to do it? I never thought of him as being a warrior, but he is a warrior. He loves his country. He said, if I'm injured or die, I'm dying for a country that I love. He grew up there. It's horrible what's happened in Lebanon, but you have a great ambassador, I can tell you that. In Lebanon, which has been endlessly victimized by Hezbollah and their sponsor, Iran, a new president and prime minister have brought the first real chance in decades for a more productive partnership with the United States, and we're going to work with their new ambassador and everybody else, Marco, and we're going to see if we can really help them out and
let them get over that very high grid that they're going to have to get over. My administration stands ready to help Lebanon create a future of economic development and peace with its neighbors. They have tremendous people in Lebanon, doctors, lawyers, great professional people. I hear it so many times. Likewise, in Syria, which has seen so much misery and death, there is a new government that will hopefully succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. That's what we want to see in Syria. They've had their share of travesty, war, killing, many years. That's why my administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade. And I'm very pleased to announce that Secretary Marco Rubio will be meeting with the new Syrian foreign minister in Turkey later this week. And very importantly, after discussing the situation in Syria with the Crown Prince, your Crown Prince, and also with President Erdogan of Turkey, who called me the other day and asked for a very similar thing, among others, and friends of mine, people that I have a lot of respect for in the Middle East, I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness. Oh, what I do for the Crown Prince. The sanctions were brutal and crippling and served as an important, really an important function, nevertheless, at the time. But now it's their time to shine. It's their time to shine. We're taking them all off, and they're going to have, I think they're going to have, based on the people and the spirit and everything else that I'm hearing about. So I say, good luck, Syria. Show us something very special like they've done, frankly, in Saudi Arabia, okay? They're going to show us something special. Very good people. Everywhere we can, my administration is pursuing peaceful engagement, offering a strong and steady hand of friendship to all that will take it in good faith. Together, we have made unprecedented strides and tremendous progress, and we're still just at the dawn of the bright new day that awaits for the people of the Middle East, the great, great people of the Middle East. If the responsible nations of this region seize this moment, put aside your differences and focus on the interests that unite you, then all of humanity will soon be amazed at what they will see right here in this geographic center of the world. It really is. It's like a center of the world and the spiritual heart of its greatest faiths. For the first time in 1,000 years, the world will look at this region not as a place of turmoil and strife and war and death, but as a land of opportunity and hope, just like you've done right here, a cultural and commercial crossroads of the planet. Security and stability will lift millions into lives of safety and success, and the nations of this region will be free to realize your highest destinies, honor your proud histories, harness amazing new opportunities, and bring incredible glory to Almighty God. People will come from all over the globe to be inspired by the cities you build, the businesses you create, the technologies you invent, and the beauty, talent, and potential you unleash right in the hearts of your citizens. Each of you will be able to take tremendous pride in the legacy you will leave to your children, because you will have given them the ultimate blessings of prosperity and peace. So important. In the United States, we've launched the golden age of America. It's the golden age. We see it. We see it with all that money, trillions and trillions of dollars pouring in, hundreds of thousands of jobs coming in with it. And with the help of the people of the Middle East, the people in this room, partners throughout the region, the golden age of the Middle East can proceed right alongside of us. We will work together. We will be together. We will succeed together. We will win together. And we will always be friends. Thank you. So, Mohammed, I want to thank you again very much for having me. And as a representative of what I think is the greatest nation in the world, we are with you all the way, and you have a tremendous future. Thank you very much. And please pay my respects to your father. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. This is an honor. What a beautiful group of people you are. You are good. I wish I looked like you. I would have been president 20 years ago if I looked like you. But I want to give a special hello to Al-Udeed Air Base, sometimes referred to as the Deed. That's a sinister term, the Deed. Today, we can all relax and be at ease, and we're going to have a little fun. Have nothing else to do, so let's have a little fun, right? I'm thrilled to be here with the men and women who embody American strength and pride, the warriors of the United States Armed Forces. It's an amazing group of people. You are, without a doubt, the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. That's the way it is. I said it last night. I said it's strong. We have the strongest military in the world. Not even a contest. We have the best equipment. Nobody has equipment like us. Nobody has the planes or the missiles or anything else. And as your Commander-in-Chief, I'm here to say that America's military will soon be bigger, better, stronger, and more powerful than ever before. We just did a budget. The budget was the highest by far, over $1 trillion. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff, and hopefully it's peace through strength. Hopefully we don't have to use it. Because if you use it, I feel sorry for the other guy, but we don't want to have to use it. I want to recognize a true warrior, and that's our Secretary of Defense. They put him through hell, the radical left did, and he's incredible. You know, he went to the best schools, he did the best stuff. He's a smart guy, and he's a great guy, and I just listened to his words standing backstage when he was speaking. He really has it right on the peg. Pete Hegseth, he's going to be great. You're going to love this guy. You're going to love him. And I also want to influence you to clap for a man who's a great influencer. In fact, my son, Barron, said, Dad, you got to do an interview with somebody I hadn't heard of. But my son knew very well, he knows everyone. He said, Dad, this is before the election, you know, we won in a landslide in case you hadn't known. But he said, Dad, you got to do an interview with a guy named Theo Vaughn. I said, who the hell is Theo Vaughn? He said, Dad, he's such a big guy, you got to do an interview. So he knew all the names, I didn't know the names. And where is Theo? He's around here someplace, I think. Theo, thank you. He said you got to do it there. We had a good time, right? We had a good time. We had like 270 million people that listened. So you know what? I think Barron was right. Thank you for being here, Theo. Appreciate it. Also, Lee Greenwood, right from the beginning, that song went on. And you know, that song is a successful song, but we made it the most, number one. We made that song, it's the top of the list of that type of song. That's a pretty big, I don't want to go into the list because you'll get upset with me if I do. Like
became unbelievable. And I was saying you could get Elvis or anybody else to do a song. There's nothing, that was my intro song right from the beginning. Because as you know, we won 3 elections, okay? And some people want us to do a 4th. I don't know, we'll have to think about that. You saw the new hat, the hottest hat is, it says, Trump 2028. We're driving the left crazy when you see that. We didn't need that hat, but it's been an amazing period of time. And when Lee Greenwood did that song, it went from the first day. I came out and played it. It was a great song, but we didn't know. And then I did it the second time, a third time. And that was 968 rallies ago. Can you believe that? We did 968 rallies. Another hat says 968. I said, what the hell does that mean? That's the number of rallies. I said, you have to be kidding. But from the very beginning, and we played Lee's song, and it was the walk-on. And then for the last inauguration, I had all the big singers, they wanted to do a song for me, and they wanted to have me walk on to their song. And my people, oh, that would be nice, that would be nice. When I heard about it, we were all set. We had a lot of them. And I heard about it, and I said, I'm not switching. Are you kidding me? I'm not switching. So we stick with Lee, but nobody could have done better than Lee. And he's been so loyal and so great, and it's been really about 9 years of that stuff. And, we had honestly, we had 3 unbelievable campaigns, and it's been an honor. And there's nobody been stronger than the military in terms of backing us, nobody. So I just want to thank you all very much. Great honor. Thank you very much. And also with us today is really a great talent, and somebody who's one of the most popular television hosts in history. Still looks young to me, but he's been doing it a long time, but he's an incredible man. He's always seems to take my side, and therefore I like him even more. But he has common sense. We talk about common sense all the time, but he's one of the biggest in the history of television, the great Sean Hannity. He's here someplace. Sean, stand up wherever you are. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean. He was a little shy for a change, I think. I've never seen that. We're also grateful to have a very excellent ambassador, Timmy Davis. Everybody loved him. Timmy, thank you. Along with you great military leaders, these are real leaders, these are real tough cookies. Lieutenant General Derek Trapper France, Major General David Shoemaker, Brigadier General Richard Deuce Dickens, Chief Master Sergeants Chris Murphy and Joshua Wiener, and Colonel Brian Ellis. We want to thank you, amazing people. They're real leaders, and this is one of the great bases anywhere in the world, and we're lucky to have them. Thank you very much, fellas. And a very special thanks as well to our partners from the Qatar Army Armed Forces. Let's give them a really special hand. They are so and in particular, we want to give a little special applause for somebody that's been so good. Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister, Saud. Where are you, Saud? Thank you very much. Yesterday we signed an agreement for Qatar to purchase $42 billion worth of the finest American military hardware, including THAAD missile batteries, Pegasus refueling aircraft, Desert Vipers, light armored vehicles, amphibious combat vehicles, the MQ-9B, and the Sky Guardian drones. That's all the best stuff, isn't it? If it isn't, please stand up and tell me we'll get something else. But I believe it's the best. Qatar will also be investing $10 billion to support this massive base in the coming years, and there's no place like it, they say. And a man, a leader, Amir, he's been a special friend of mine for a long time, long before I did the political thing. When he was a novice, he was a young guy, and we got to know each other. We liked each other and got along long before I ever thought of running for president. And it's nice when you have that kind of a relationship. We got along right from the beginning. He's a special guy. He's a great leader of your country. So I want to just congratulate you on that, and all the Qatari people. A spectacular group, and it's an honor. And I don't think our friendship's ever been stronger than it is right now. You had the last administration. I don't know if they knew too much about what was happening, but this administration does. And you will never see anything like the relationship that we have. We just left Saudi Arabia, as you know, and you have a fantastic Crown Prince. He is a fantastic guy likewise. And we're going from here, we're going to UAE and United Arab Emirates, and we're going to see another leader. We have, it's an amazing part of the world, and our relationship has never been stronger. And you're going to see that as time goes by, but with us it's not words. As you know, I'm in the midst of a very historic trip, visiting the key partners in the Gulf. We had just some incredible stopovers and a wonderful day. Yesterday we had the dinner, however, with His Highness, the Emir, and he's going to see him in a little while. I'm going to be saying goodbye to him, but we'll be saying hello again very, very soon. No visit to the Gulf would be complete without stopping to salute the people who keep America safe, strong, and free, and the patriots of the United States Army, Navy, Space Force. I love Space Force. I have to say this by the Navy. You know, I started that, they said that will never work. Oh, it worked. You know, we were way behind Russia and China, and now we're way, way ahead of everybody. So Space Force, I'm very happy. That was my, you know, not since the Air Force has that happened. So we created a force, and it's a big force, and it's a brilliant force. So Space Force, thank you for doing such a great job. The Marines, and of course the United States Air Force. Al Udeid is the home of the legendary 379th Air Expeditionary Wing, known as the Grand Slam Wing. We also have the 1st Expeditionary Theater Support Group. You got them all, and let's not forget the top-notch Army soldiers from the 11th Air Defense Artillery, the Imperial Brigade. Thank you, that's great. We also have the 8th Expeditionary Air Mobility Squadron, known as Mighty Ochos. Where are the Ochos? We don't want to fight with them. All of you are the tip of the spear. You're the finest we have. Anywhere in the world, you're the finest we have. You're the finest anyone has in the fight against the enemies of civilization. You're the people that are defeating chaos, combating terror, defending our interests, supporting our allies, securing our homeland, and making America incredibly proud. And you know what? Making America great again. That's what's happened. It's happened very quickly. As president, my priority is to end conflicts, not start them, but I will never hesitate to wield American power if it's necessary to defend the United States of America or our partners. And this is one of our great partners right here. When we're threatened, America's military will answer our enemies without even thinking about it. We have overwhelming strength and devastating force. And we had people that didn't like to talk about that, you know? They didn't want to talk about the level of quality that we have. They didn't want to talk about anything. We're going to have a big parade this year, you know, in Washington, D.C., a real parade. And I'll tell you just a little story. A week ago, I called up a certain country, and they said, oh, we're celebrating the victory of World War II today, sir. Oh, really? I'd speak to one of the presidents or prime ministers or whatever. And they were so busy, oh, yes, we're celebrating the victory of World War II. Then I speak to another one that they were celebrating. And the fact is Russia was celebrating, France was celebrating. Everybody was celebrating but us. And we're the ones that won the war. We won the war. They helped. But without us, they don't win the war. We're all speaking German. You know that. Without us, they're speaking German, maybe a little Japanese too. We won the war. And we're the only ones that didn't celebrate. So what I did is I got my crack staff over there, and we did it every time. We have May 8th, and we also have the date in November, that sacred date in November for World War I, because we won that war too. But think of it, I'm calling, no, we love France, right? But I think we did a little more to win the war than France did. Do we agree? You know, I don't want to be a wise guy. When Hitler made a speech at the Eiffel Tower, I would say that wasn't exactly ideal. And I called up the President, Macron, good guy, by the way. Donald, we are celebrating our victory over the Germans. Oh, that's wonderful. No, we don't take credit for what we do. And I said, what the hell? Every country I've spoken to in the last week is celebrating the war but us. Isn't that terrible? So we're going to be doing holidays, but I said it has to be a working holiday because you can only do so many of them. We have a lot of holidays. I'm not so sure we should have them, and you don't have to go to work. Our country has to go to work, so we're going to have a working holiday for each one of those 2 days, and we're going to be celebrating too because we should celebrate more than anybody else. And others did help a lot, but nobody helped like us. We wouldn't have won. I mean, the fact is, not winnable without us. And now we're stronger than ever before. You know, I rebuilt the military in my first term. We had a great first term every way. We had the greatest economy ever, stock market up 88%, the biggest rise ever, all of that stuff. But the second term is going to be even better. We have over $10 trillion going to be invested in our country. And this little tour didn't hurt, I will tell you, between the 3 great places. I recently announced that I'll approve an unprecedented $1 trillion, as I told you. It's going to end up going higher investment in the U.S. Armed Forces, and that's a record as part of that effort. I signed an order to build the Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our country from missile attack. Is everybody okay with that? It was called the Iron Dome, but I changed it to the Golden Dome. I thought it was a little more beautiful. Maybe a little more modern or something. But we're going to have it, and it's amazing, actually, what they do. It's going to cost many billions of dollars, all made in the USA. I want it all made in the USA. The days of making our parts all over the world because we have wonderful partners now. It's America first now. America first. We're going to make it all in the USA. And we're going to, by the way, it's America first, but we're going to take care of other countries. We're going to have plenty left over. Because we're doing things now. You know, 6 months ago, our country was laughed at. Now our country is respected again at a level that it hasn't seen in a long, long time. And we're going to keep it that way. And our Air Force will soon have the world's first and only 6th-generation fighter jet, the F-47. Why did they name it 47? Does anybody know? It was a nice thing, but it's quite the plane. They say there's never been anything done, but we're also looking at an increased version of the F-35. I think we're going to call it the F-55, which will be a double-engine plane. I like 2 engines on a plane. I'm sorry if I say that, but does that make sense to anybody? Does anybody agree, General? Do you agree with that? I like it. Thank you. So many of you, sir, this engine is infallible. No engine's infallible. I like 2 engines on a plane. Should have been made with 2 engines. If I were here, you would have had 2 engines, and you would have had a lot of other victories, by the way. What we're going to do, when you think of it, Russia, Ukraine would have never started. October 7th, Israel would have never happened, because Iran, as you know, is broke. Okay, we're unable to fund Hamas or anything else. Wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have had the disaster of Afghanistan, the leaving. We were getting out, but we're getting out with dignity and strength. We're going to keep Bagram Air Base. We're going to give that now China. The damage that that administration did to this country is legendary, allowing 21 million people through an open border where anybody could walk into the United States of America is something that will never be forgiven. Grossly incompetent and evil, bad people too, bad people. But the real strength of our military doesn't come from its fighter jets. It really comes from our people. That's you. It comes from our people. You're unbelievable people. The aptitude and all of the things you have to do what you do. You know, I look at some of those engines, and I'm a pretty smart cookie. I would tell you I'm real smart. And I look at you, and you take those engines apart and put them back together, blindfolded, and fix them up. It's amazing what you're able to do. And then to fly them, just incredible. You're incredible. You're a very special group of people. And that's why my 2026 budget includes across the board. Maybe you don't want to, look, for the good of the country, you don't have to take it. Pay raises for each and every one of you, substantial pay raises. You don't have to take it. You can go to your commanding officer and say, sir, I'd rather not take that pay. I love my country, sir. I refuse to take it. Anybody here, raise your hand, please, if you refuse to take it. That's well, at least we have smart people. That's so you do your duty for us, and as Commander-in-Chief, I will always do and fulfill my duty to you. That's what I'm doing. Under the Trump administration, we're liberating everything in our armed forces from really radical social experiments carried out under the previous administration and beyond that, and actually beyond that, and restoring the strong and fierce spirit of the American warrior, the American fighter. On day one, I signed an executive order stopping our service members from being forced to endure endless training sessions on political correctness. We don't care if you're politically correct. And I directed the reinstatement of all patriots expelled from our military by the COVID vaccine mandate, which should have never happened. They're being returned at their former rank with full back pay. Very important. After years of not making our enrollment targets, to me this is the biggest thing. Our military suddenly has the best recruiting numbers that perhaps they've ever had, but certainly in 30 years. Think of that. You go back 6 months ago, we couldn't get people to join the military. Nobody wanted your job. Now everybody wants your job. So we went from having the worst numbers we've ever had in terms of recruitment. That included police officers also, firefighters, but police officers. But in the military, think of that. You couldn't get people to join the military, and now we're brimming over. We have the highest numbers we probably, minimum 30 years, but probably have ever had, because there's such an incredible spirit now in our country. We have a whole new spirit, and it began on a date, November 5th, that was Election Day. Under the Trump administration, America is back, and America's military is back, bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Since my inauguration, service members stationed throughout this region have terminated 83 major terrorists operating across Iraq, Syria, and Somalia, including the #2, just recently global leader of ISIS. And I knocked out ISIS, as you know, in my term. They said it was going to take 4 years. I said, why 4 years? It's a long time. And then I met a General Kane. He's now the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right? And he was great. He said, we could do it in 3 weeks. I said, well, I was told 4 years, General, by your television generals in Washington, D.C. And he didn't want to be disrespectful to them. He said, sir, I'm telling you, you want, we can do it in 3 weeks. And that's what he did. He knocked out 100% of the ISIS caliphate in 3 weeks. Should I tell you a little long, boring story about that? Yeah, sure. Okay, some of you have heard it, because it's sort of ISIS. We have this great military, all these great jets that we have, new, all over the place, the best in the world, the fastest, the best. And I went out and I said to a certain general, Washington, D.C., a television general, not much of it. There's a real general on television. You have the television guys and you have the real generals. And I said, General, how long will it take us? Because it doesn't make sense. We're spending a lot of money on defeating ISIS, and they don't have great equipment. They, in many cases, don't even have equipment. They're vicious, and they are good fighters. We always have to respect that. Sir, it'll take at least 5 years, sir. I said, 5 years? That's a long time. I mean, we have jets, they have knives, and it's going to take 5 years. Yes, sir. I said, I don't really believe that, so I did something that I've never done before. I said, I want to go to Iraq, and I want to meet with the people in Iraq, because maybe they're different, but I couldn't understand how a large and powerful terror group could last so long. And so I scheduled a flight, meaning I left at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was pitch black. We left very, very under guard. We traveled through Washington, D.C. There was nobody around. Got to the hangar at about 3:15. Air Force One was waiting for us. Pilots, best looking human beings I've ever seen. Even better looking than Tom Cruise, and he's a friend of mine. Okay. These guys were central casting, and they could also fly. And we headed out about 3:30 in the morning, pitch black. We headed for Iraq. And nobody knew I was going, nobody. And we're flying, and we're starting to get close. And they come to see me, and they say, sir, we have a problem. What? We're flying over enemy territory very soon, sir. Could we please turn off your lights? I said, my lights? We're flying in Air Force One. We just spent trillions of dollars on fighting. You can't fly in with lights on? No, sir, it's very, very dangerous out there. So I said, oh, obviously turn them off. Then he comes in addition to the lights, we want to turn down the shades. So I said, you mean not even shades? Okay, we turn down the shades. And I said, I want to go upstairs. This is 747, 2 levels, beautiful plane. Just ordered new ones, by the way, beautiful new ones. And Boeing just, by the way, did the biggest order in the history of Boeing. Just did with your beautiful territory right here. They ordered, I think, 160 planes. I think it's the largest order ever for aircraft. So I salute the people from Boeing, Kelly, and everybody, and General Electric. The engines are General Electric Super Prime, and I really think it's great. Congratulations. But I go up to see the pilots because I love sitting with the pilots. I admire their skill. I really do. Like, amazing, especially at a certain level. When you fly Air Force One, supposedly you're the best pilot. So I hope that's true, by the way. But it seems to be. I have no complaints. We land. It's like always landing on glass. I've had pilots where when you land, it's not a pretty picture. In fact, you admire the plane so much for being able to keep apart. And, you know, I mean, sometimes I land with some of these guys. You're bouncing down the runway. I'm saying these planes are amazing that they don't crack up. But these pilots land us, and the 747's a hard one to land, but they're great. So I go up, I see the pilots, I say, hi, Captain. The guy's a handsome guy. I've got a blonde flat top. I'd like to have a flat top like that. I don't know if the hair's good enough for that. I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to try it either. But perfect person, and I look at the right, he's perfect. Everybody was perfect. I like perfect human beings. I said, how are we doing, Captain? We're doing fine, sir. We'll be there in a half hour, sir. I said, they want the lights turned off, Captain. And they do, yes, sir. They're doing the right thing. Oh, that's great, Captain. It's great. So now we're 15 more minutes, and all of a sudden, and most of you know the sound because that's what you do, but you have the computer voice, a beautiful voice where it says 1,900. They're talking about feet. So when you're in the big planes and sophisticated planes, the voice comes on, and I'm sitting back there watching them fly it beautifully, and I'm still not 100% happy with the statement that he agrees that the lights should be turned off. I would have preferred that he said, no, there's no problem. But that's not what he said, so we're going through, because 1,900, 800, 700, talking about don't see a thing. There's no lights, there's no runway, and I've done this a lot, and I always see the runway in the distance. I have fairly good eyes. I'd say for my age, extremely good eyes. And I don't see a runway. 600, 500. Captain, are we okay? Yes, sir. We'll be landing in just a few minutes, sir. 400. Captain, are we okay? I don't see a runway up there, Captain. Oh, we're fine, sir. No problem, sir. 300. 200. I'm saying, Captain, you sure we're okay here? And he said, we're fine, sir. And then, boom. It just lands that thing so beautifully, and I see they had no light, they had no nothing. I don't know how the hell they do it, okay? All I know is we landed like, and for him it was routine, and I'm trying to pretend I'm cool as a cucumber, you know? I mean, it has to be cool as a cucumber, and I'm like, you know, I'm like, I'm not happy. But after we land, I actually went to my people and I said, I want to ask you a question. I did a very brave thing just there. Is the president allowed to designate himself for the Congressional Medal of Honor? And they said, sir, honestly, that wouldn't be good. I said, okay. So anyway, we get I kid. You know, I have to say I kid because the fake news is back there, and they'll actually, no, it's not. And they'll say that the president wanted to give himself the Congressional Medal of Honor, and he was talked out of it by his staff. So anyway, so I get the door opens, we have a platform. I see down, I look down, and I see, these are all specimens, just like you guys are all perfect people. And I'm seeing a couple of generals, a couple of staff sergeants, drill sergeants, but everybody's like from a movie. And I walk out of the plane and meet the first gentleman. And I said, what's your name? He said, Kane, sir, my name is Kane. And I said, hello, Kane, what's your first name? Well, they call me Raisin. He said, wait a minute, Raisin, you mean like Raisin King? Yes, sir, that's what they call me. General, I love you. You're the guy I'm looking for, General. You're the guy I'm looking for. So it's Raisin Kane. It's Daniel Kane, but Raisin Kane, they call him. Then I met another general, I met a colonel, I met a sergeant. They said, sir, would you like to rest? He said, what do you mean rest? I've been resting in the plane. I don't want to rest. What do I have to rest for? He was thinking about Biden to come, okay? Biden would have rested the entire trip. He wouldn't, first of all, he wouldn't have made the trip. But if he landed, he would have been rested for about 5 days before he had the first meeting. I said, no, let's go have the meeting because I want to find out what's going on over here. We're spending a lot of money and people are being killed. I want to find out why it's taking so long. So let's go right away. So we went to almost like just a very secure room that was in the form of a boardroom. Very professional, however. It was very highly sophisticated with the equipment. Best you can buy. We have the best you can buy all the time. But I went into the room and I said, General, so they tell me in Washington it would take 4 to 5 years to defeat ISIS. And I want to know from you, is that true? Is that, no, sir. But it's not my place to say, sir, because they are the ones that call the shots. I said, well, if you disagree, it's not the military way, so you have to listen to them. That's the chain of command. I said, oh, that's great. I'm not sure I like that system. But how long do you think it would take you if I gave you total authority to go and knock the hell out of them? So it would take approximately 3 weeks. I say, say it again, General. I was told 5 years. Sir, it'll take 3 weeks and you'll have time left over. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. Where the hell have you been? And then I sort of was really in disbelief because I said, you know, I've been here for so long, we've been fighting it. How long will we fight him? 18 years or something? And here's the guy telling me 3 weeks. So I said, General, how do you do it in 3 weeks? He says, well, sir, I don't like saying this because I do have people always here, but I'm going to say it. We have portable stations, we have portable runways, we have runways all over the place, we have other bases, and we're being forced to fight them from a very far away distant base, which is right here. And by the time we get there, we have to come back because there's no fuel. And we're way too far away, sir. And they're over here, and he shows me a map. And we're over here, and we're all the way here, sir. I said, why didn't they use the other bases? Well, they didn't want to disturb the millions of dollars. We can disturb them a little bit. They wouldn't know what we're doing anyway. Are they going to know where the planes are going? Not really, sir. I said, so what would you do different? He said, well, sir, I'd start from here. He went through a whole thing. And I'd hit him from the left. I'd hit him from the right. I'd hit him from underneath. I'd hit him from the top. I'd hit him from every angle, sir. I'd hit him so hard and so fast they wouldn't know what the hell is happening. He said, and you think you can do that in 3 weeks? Yes, sir. We're going to have time left over. And I said, let me think about it, General. I went back to Washington, and I spoke to a couple of people, and they said, I don't think so, sir. I think you're talking about years of fighting. And then I called the General. I said, so, General, you still think you can do it in 3 weeks? And a lot of people think you can't even come close to that, sir. We'll have time left over. I said, go do it, General. Go do it. Thank you, sir. And he hit the hell out of him. He hit the hell out of him. And he calls me up. Sir, we have out of these people, and if you want, I can finish it off right now, sir. I said, well, I don't know, that's a lot. It's a lot of people. Well, these people are not good people, sir. These are not good people. You'll feel better about it. Well, they're not good people, but they're people, aren't they? And he goes, I said, you know what? Why don't you buzz them for a little while, and maybe after a day or two of buzzing them, they'll surrender. They don't know about surrendering, sir. Well, maybe they'll raise the white flag. They don't have a white flag, sir. I said, well, give it a shot anyway. He said, all we're going to do is take a couple of bullet holes in our wings. You guys know about that, right? And I said, well, let's give it a shot. And he calls up and says, let me do the job, sir. I said, all right, do the job. And we defeated 100% of the ISIS caliphate in just a very short little period of time. Totally different from what I was told in Washington, D.C. by a bunch of frickin' losers. Losers. And that's the beginning. I took that general and made him the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as I told you. And he's going to be great, and he's highly respected by everybody. Just a different kind of respect. It's a real respect. But we can do our job better than anybody in the world, but you have to have the leadership at the top, And we're doing that. We're finding, we let a lot of 4 stars go. We had more 4 stars. We had, I think, 425 4 stars. In World War II, which, by the way, we won, in World War II, we had 187 generals. And we had like 425 generals now, without really a war. And so we made a lot of changes, and we have the best. We have the best. We worked hard to figure the best, the real ones. We want the real generals, not the fake generals, and not the political generals, too. So we have something that's special, but it can show you really what happened. We also just apprehended, as an example, the ISIS terrorist of the al-Baghdad, the one that caused all of the problems in Afghanistan, caused unbelievable destruction. We lost 13 great soldiers. I got to know the parents and the families of those soldiers, but you know what they don't say is the ones who were so horribly wounded, which were many. And hundreds of people were killed from the other side. I always include that. That should have never happened. That whole mess should have never happened. I think it was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. And we're not going to have things like that happen anymore. And again, we should have kept the air base. Should have kept it. We left it go. And we left, and it was a very embarrassing moment in the history of our country. That'll never happen again. There are a lot of people that said that Russia went into Ukraine. When they saw that, they said, wow, we didn't think that was possible, but it's not possible any longer, I can tell you. That's another one would have never happened if I were president. Russia would have never gone into Ukraine. All of those things, it would have never happened. But the Afghanistan withdrawal, not the fact that they withdrew, but the fact that the way they did it was so horrible and so embarrassing. So we brought this horrible person to justice, to American justice. We caught the person that set off that bomb. And all of this is possible because of the work that you do with partnerships that you forge. settled, but I think it is settled. And we talked to them about trade. Let's do trade instead of do war. And Pakistan was very happy with that. And India was very happy with that. And I think they're on the way. You know, they have been fighting for about 1,000 years, in all fairness. So I said, you know, I could settle that up. I can settle anything. Let me set it up. Let's get them all together. How long have you been fighting? About 1,000 years. Oh, that's a lot. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about settling. That's a tough one. They've been fighting for a long time. But we got that settled. Everybody was very happy, I'll tell you. That looked like it was really going to be escalating out of control. But with us today is the first sergeant of the 379th Wing, Master Sergeant Patrick Elders. And Patrick, wherever you may be, where are you, Patrick? I'm looking at him from here, and it says after having served 22 years, he's a lot. That's amazing. It looks like he's like 25 years old. I'm saying 22 years. He said, we must have this mixed up. We don't have it mixed up. I guess when you love what you do, you stay young, right? And he loves what he does, no doubt about it. But having served over 22 years in the Air Force, he's one of his, right now, this is his 6th deployment, but this time it's a little different because his stepson, Airman First Class Ashton Inman, is on his own first ever deployment nearby in Kuwait, right now in Kuwait, which is really incredible. Master Sergeant Elders is proud that 2 generations of his family are now serving the same mission in the same theater, protecting the same great American flag. So say hello to him. A lot of stories like that, and I want to thank Airman First Class Inman also very much. That's a great story. That's a great story, and we have many of them. I guarantee in this room right now there are many such stories. There are several married couples serving side by side in uniform at this base, including Staff Sergeants Tyler and Paige Duck. Where is Tyler? For years, they grew their relationship while Paige was deployed in the UK and Tyler was halfway around the world at Joint Base Elmendorf, Richardson in Alaska, conquering a 14-hour time difference. That's a lot of time difference. And now they're together at Al Udeid, and it's really great. So Staff Sergeants, congratulations, it's fantastic. The American people never forget that our service members and their families make incredible sacrifices each and every day so that all Americans can be safe and be free, and we love our amazing military families. Our military families are as good as you can get. The men and women here today are part of a noble tradition of service that has been passed down from one generation of Americans to the next, and your spirit and courage and sacrifice has always been there when we needed you the most. You're always there when we need you the most. With us today is Master Sergeant Michael Schlow, who happens to be from a small town in a place called Butler, Pennsylvania. Has anybody heard of Butler, Pennsylvania? Michael's a member of the Air Force Reserve as well as Butler County Corrections Officer. And last July 13th, he attended the rally where an assassin tried to take my life. He gave it a shot. Not good. Or someday. As soon as the shots were fired, Michael raced to direct law enforcement toward the sniper's perch, then worked to evacuate the rest of the crowd in a very safe manner. But Master Sergeant Schlow would be the first to tell you who the real hero was that day. He personally knew and really liked veteran firefighter, also a veteran of the military, great veteran of the military, who laid down his life for his country, really laid down his life for his country. His whole life was about his country. Corey Comparator, and he's become somewhat of a legend, I will tell you. He took a hard shot. He took a hard shot guarding his family. Master Sergeant Schlo, your commitment represents the very best in America. Thank you for your incredible service that day and forever, because that day was a horrible day, but you acted with incredible bravery. We've got reports about what you did. It was really amazing, and I personally appreciate it. It was a rough day. We don't want to have days like that. But Corey was an incredible guy, lost his life, guarding his wife and children. Every American warrior here today inherits a legacy of exceptional patriots who have defended our freedom for nearly 250 years. You carry on the glorious tradition of the heroes of Lexington and Concord, Gettysburg and Bellewood, Normandy and Midway. You embody the spirit of the soldiers who hoisted the flag over Fort McHenry and the Marines who planted the stars and stripes on the summit to Iwo Jima. That was a rough attack. You carry forward the mission of generations of Americans before you who marched through halls of gunfire, trekked over rugged mountains, stormed across scorching deserts, sailed through hostile waters, conquered unknown dangers, and poured out their blood and guts in battlefields all over the world. The military is incredible, and we won our independence. We preserved our union, protected our way of life, defeated fascism, crushed terrorism, liberated millions and millions of people from bondage, and brought communism to its knees. That's what we did. And now we're going to defend America from all enemies, overcome all obstacles and dangers, and as one nation, we're going to build a future of peace and prosperity for generations to come. Together we will stand strong, we will stand proud, we will live free, and we will fight, 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 and win, win, win. So, my trip is 4.5 days, but this is the one I was so looking forward to because I'm with the people that I really love and respect. We love and respect you. This is what you're doing, the service you do for your country. You keep us safe. There is no more important profession. And I was so proud to see those reports coming in just a few days ago saying that the enrollment is at the highest level ever, especially when I had to suffer running against a group of people that were very inappropriate, where they allowed that reputation of what you stood for and what you stand for